Let's talk macro and micro cycles of history. This is for my friends who don't like to read. We're talking about this over on Substack as well, but this will be about a 6 or 7 minute video. You can break it up however you want. There is a trigger warning up top because there is a lot of white supremacy and racial violence conversation happening, because that is important to understand the United States. In my estimation right now, the part of the cycle that we're in, that we're going to be looking at, is going to be Reconstruction to Jim Crow. And I think the Reconstruction era, the backlash of the freedom of Black Americans and the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments actually carries all the way through to almost the point of Barack Obama's election. Why is this important? Because I think that kind of restarted the cycle all over again. And from there to present, we are in that backlash era, right? So let's break it down. It's the 1870s. In 1865, the 13th Amendment is passed. Shortly thereafter, it's the 15th and 14th and 15th, meaning the black codes that had been pushed through at the state level, they were already deemed unconstitutional. Black Americans excelled immediately, even without any of the support that they needed, right? They were promised 40 acres and a mule, and they did not get that. But with the Freedmen's Bureau and with the community that they built on their own, they built thriving towns, cities, and even had 2,000 black men elected to Congress and municipalities. We sent 2 senators from Mississippi to Washington, D.C., and the backlash is immediate. We know that the original Ku Klux Klan is founded the same year that the Civil War ends. We know that it's founded just days after the 13th Amendment is ratified. It's shut down in the next 5 years by the Enforcement Acts, but the sentiment of it doesn't go away. And therefore, the red shirts and the Knights of the White Camellia and the White League, they all jump up in their stead, and they're not masked. They're standing up next to their political candidates that they love, and they're literally flanking them with guns and pointing them at people's chests saying, when are you going to vote for us? As we move away from Reconstruction era and into solidifying the Jim Crow era, that's going to come with 2 major Supreme Court cases. Of course, it will culminate with Plessy versus Ferguson's separate but equal at the Supreme Court. Plessy versus Ferguson ushers in literally 60-some years of authoritarian regime. And when I began my journey on relearning U.S. history, I thought that was the only brand of fascism that we had in these here United States. I never thought that we had it at the federal level, but of course it had to have come down from the federal level to affect multiple states. And Plessy versus Ferguson is that. That is authoritarianism. Separate but equal never was separate but equal. The red shirts are the ones that are going to overthrow a duly elected government that's a fusion government between the white Americans and black Americans in Wilmington. This will lead to a massacre and a coup d'etat. That's in 1898, 2 years after Plessy versus Ferguson. We'll see another iteration of this in the early 1900s, in the 1919 Red Summer of 1919, which is 30 cities having racial violence, and that's white Americans against black Americans. That's the violence that we're looking at. It's never the other way around, not at mass scale, and you have to understand that. During that time period, we're going to see Greenwood and Rosewood burnt to the ground. We'll see lakes filling up other towns. We'll see the destruction of these communities that have been worked and built over the last 30 or 40 years. Poll taxes are the norm. Literally, literacy tests are the norm, and by the start of the civil rights movement in the early 1950s, only 2% of black Americans in Mississippi will be registered to vote. Fannie Lou Hamer talks about learning about how to register to vote. She said, I didn't even know it was an option. Nobody had ever told her. And when she registered to vote, she lost her job. She also got beat up and arrested numerous times. The era that I think we're facing right now is that early backlash to Barack Obama getting elected president. The difference now, we know this, right? History doesn't repeat itself, it just fucking rhymes. The difference now is, of course, the evangelical right and the technocrats, the billionaires. They've aligned incentives with the government right now to harm most of us for their narrow succession. For a very small group of people to become more rich and more powerful. The Doug Wilsons of the world right now want to repeal the 19th Amendment. The Christian nationalists want a white ethno-state. The technocrats just want workers. They want to work us to death. They want to have no workers' rights. So I do believe right now that we are staring down the barrel of the gun of an authoritarian regime if we don't stand up together and stand together and fight. The most active time period that I think the most Americans garnered rights was in the 60s. This was during the time of the women's rights movement, the civil rights movement, the American Indian movement, the Students for Democracy, the Black Panthers, the Rainbow Coalition. So many things happened during that time, and a lot of it was because these movements coalesced and realized they have a lot of incentive to work together, because we are stronger together. 18 years out from Barack Obama's election, Plessy versus Ferguson comes down right around the 31-year mark after the 13th Amendment is passed. I originally thought it was 32. I was doing the math wrong. But I hope you understand that we have time before everything solidifies. The regime right now would like you to believe that everything is solidified, but what we've seen over the last few weeks is that people are standing up to ICE. People are standing up to wrongful detentions. People are standing up to data centers, right? And again, data centers and ICE, they're on the same team. The technocrats and the people who want big government as it pertains to ICE have aligned their incentives. So the good news is there's more of us than there are of them. And when we work together, we do win and we make strides. We also, of course, have voting going on as well. Do I think we can vote our way out of this? No. But I do think that voting gives us an opportunity to get friendly politicians in office who give us time to get things done. Happy Friday.